Welcome back to Go With Us. Today's focus is going to be Shadow Raikou. Is it worth raiding? Is it even worth powering up? And we're going to run through a quick counter guide to help you guys take this thing down. Just to give you a clue, this Pokemon is... whew, wow. Let's start off with when Shadow Raikou is going to be in raids. Guys, what they're doing for the month of March is that on weekends only, Shadow Raikou will be appearing in 5-star Shadow raids, which effectively, as of recording this, we've got 3 weekends to do this. You can do it this weekend on the 9th and 10th. You could do it the following weekend on the 16th and 17th. You could aim for the 23rd and 24th, or you could even aim for the 30th and 31st. However, that's actually when we get Shadow Mewtwo, so that's probably not going to be your focus. So as of today, you've got about 3 weekends to go for it. Raikou is an electric type Pokemon originally coming from the Johto region. If you guys didn't know, Raikou is part of the trio legendary dogs surrounded by Entei and Suicune, which effectively make up the trio, all coming from the Johto region, and it's probably a good time to have a look at its base stats. It has a max CP of 3902, which is pretty boss, but I think it really shines in its attack value. Its attack value is currently 241, its defense is 195, and its stamina is 207. So on paper, it looks solid, but the thing that really stands out to me is gonna be that attack value. What's great about Raikou is that because it's an all electric type Pokemon, it has few resistances and not many weaknesses, but a great thing about it is that it gets access to some of the best moves we could possibly use in Pokemon Go, especially in the electric type category. For example, in its fast moves, it gets access to Volt Switch, which is strong, but it gets access to the premier fast type attacking move, which is gonna be Thunder Shock. Thunder Shock in raids is predominantly recommended. It's a really good one, so it's probably a good time to swing onto some of its charge moves. Raikou gets access to some of the best electric type charge moves in the game, including Thunder, Thunderbolt, but the premier charge move it gets access to is gonna be Wild Charge, which is often the best electric type recommended moveset as a charged attack. So when you pair Thunder Shock with Wild Charge, that sits as the premier moveset on Shadow Raikou. And if we have a look now at its damage per second, Shadow Raikou is currently sitting at number one on the electric type attacker list in the entirety of Pokemon Go, simply because of that damage per second. Wow, it just honestly hits like a truck. Would I recommend going for this thing and rating it? 1000%. That's not even a doubt in my mind. And the great thing, guys, is that when we move on to kind of weaknesses and resistances, it resists 3 types. It resists electric, flying, and steel, but it only has 1 weakness, which is gonna be ground. So it's probably a good time to move on to those counters now, because as ground type attackers, we have really good ones in the game. So let's list those for you right now. The best Mega you could use is going to be that Mega Garchomp with that Mud Shot and Earth Power combination. The great thing about this one very quickly is that it literally resists everything. Very similar to Primal Groudon. That is probably going to be, in fact, definitely, it's the best counter you could use is going to be Primal Groudon with that Mudshot and Precipice Blades combination. Moving on to Shadow Pokemon, you could use Shadow Garchomp with Mudshot and Earth Power combination. You could even use Shadow Excadrill with that Mud Slap and Scorching Sands combination. You could use Shadow Mamoswine with Mud Slap and High Horsepower. And lastly, we're going to list in Shadow Rhyperior there just because it's probably my favorite raid attacker, Shadow Rhyperior. I absolutely love it, just an absolute wrecking ball. And in terms of regular counters, we would definitely recommend, again, the Garchomp with the Mudshot and Earth Power, the Excadrill with the Mud Slap and Scorching Sands, and again, the Mamoswine with the Mud Slap and High Horsepower combination. It's a good time to slot this in that Shadow Raikou, when we raid on the weekends, is going to have 1 in 20 chance of being shiny. So yes, it is not shiny locked. This Pokemon is actually a really brilliant shiny. And even this last weekend, I've seen a few photos of guys getting some great results, so remember that. And also, if you want to take down this Shadow Raikou, you're going to need at least 3 to 4 trainers, which is pretty low. You would think it might be more, especially with the Shadow. Remember, you need those purified gens and those shards. But if you use the party play feature with 3 to 5 trainers, you should easily take this thing down, because remember, the power almost doubles depending on how many trainers have in the lobby. So if you only have 3 or 4, you're gonna maybe get like 7 to 8 trainers worth of power just out of that party play feature, so definitely use that too. Now is not a bad time to talk about the 100% IVs on Shadow Raikou. The non-weather boosted 100% IV is gonna be 1972, and the weather boosted 100% IV is gonna be 2466. Remember, and that's gonna be in rainy weather only. Bear in mind as well is that if you guys wanna extract as much XL candy when catching these Shadow Raikou, remember to either have the Mega Ampharos or Mega Manectric, Mega Evolved, and hopefully they're both at level 3 so you can extract as much of that candy too. Overall, would we raid Shadow Raikou and try and go after that hundo, maybe even that shundo? The honest answer is definitely yes, not even a shadow of a doubt. The reason why is that it is the #1 electric type attacker in the game. It beats out Xurkitree, which is a legendary. It beats out Zekrom, which is a legendary. And I think Mega Manectric is only 4th in that list, and that's the first Mega. So the fact that it's beating out all 3 of those Pokemon, it kind of gives us all of the answers that we need to know. And just bear in mind that there's actually an Apex Shadow Raikou potentially coming to the game in the future, which is probably going to have a higher attack value. And even further in the future, we're going to have Raging Bolts coming into Pokemon Go. And look, we're looking really into the future now, but there's a tie there because apparently Raikou is like an earlier descendant of Raging Bolts. And I've just had a look at that attack value and it is off the chain. So overall, yes, a big yes from us. You know where to get all the details, guys. Go with us. We have a big March coming up. We don't want you to miss all the details, and we'll be sure to see you on the next one, baby. Shoo.